This is massive. You know how many factories we have? Oh, I can't even count. Our clothing workers, our leather workers, our textile workers, we all have queens.
People still recognize me as the Spring Queen.
I couldn't believe it, that they chose me. I won the Spring Queen at the Good Hope Centre.
It's a huge event in Cape Town. I think it's probably one of the most well-known events amongst the Cape Flats people. The Spring Queen brings to life people who makes the clothes that you wear, people that you don't see. Often those people are single mothers who have 3 or 4 children to care for, plus aunt, uncle, niece, and second cousin as well. They're predominantly from the Cape Flats, and they sit in the factories every day from Monday to Friday, sometimes on a Saturday and Sunday. They get up at 4:30 in the morning to take public transport, whether it's rain or shine, and often have to dodge bullets on the Cape Flats.
I think we've got to come clean. Companies are battling. Cape Town, which used to be the hub of the clothing industry, is now really almost non-existent. Unless something is done now, we're going to be in a situation where the majority of goods are going to be imported.
I'm afraid to say that the clothing industry chases cheap labour, and Cape Town is not, or South Africa is not cheap, or as cheap as the East. The Spring Queen is a big morale booster. It's a bit of fun for all the employees in the industry, and in particular at PALS.
My name is Maraldia April. I'm working at PALS Clothing, and I became Spring Queen 1998. When you go actually in the factory, it's all about overall. You don't dress up because while you're working with clothes, and all of a sudden, when it's Spring Queen, you show your beauty. It's a long road to go. You understand? I was first princess for 5 years. Oh, the wages range from 800 as a machinist. But now, lately, if you come into the factory, they pay you 350 rand per week. I was a cleaner. From a cleaner, I went to a machinist. From a machinist, I went to an instructor. After 5 years, suddenly, they call out, Maraldia April, Spring Queen of the year 1998. I said, wow, me? They said, yes, it's you. And it was really a fantastic day that day. From an instructor, I'm a factory clerk now.
The minute they start with the Spring Queen, the mentality changed. Hey, I want to be there. I want to encourage my queen.
It's the place to be.
And on top of it, the production. You must see the production, bro.
Most factories start with what we call the factory-based Spring Queens in late May, June. These ordinary workers who often cannot afford to wear what they make can also be Cinderellas. I mean, the Spring Queen started as a result of wage negotiations. Wage negotiations often lead to very difficult situations on the factory floor between clothing workers and the employer. Angry, perhaps didn't get a good enough increase. So the trade union at the time tried to develop an event that will bring the harmony back onto the factory floor.
I've been a shop steward for 23 years. I've been involved for ages. I call myself the mother of the queens in our factory.
And the Spring Queen's a big thing in Cape Town, and we've had a lot of help by the shop stewards at PALS.
We had a retrenchment. Workers were asking, is there going to be a Spring Queen? At that moment, I said, we're not sure yet.
I'm a great believer in a union. I've got no issues with having a union. We must just communicate as much as possible.
We then approached management and they said, yeah, they will sponsor us.
At the end of the day, we're all here for one thing, and that's to make PALS successful.
As workers, we need to keep our factory alive.
But you might be going on strike.
It's our right. It's our right to have a strike. It's our labor that keeps a factory running. And if you see bosses that can go out and just anytime eat and entertain and go on cruises, I think we from the poor communities, we need increase, yes, but with better conditions. Thank you.
For cows, he come in for that. He come in for that. Give us a little speech.
There's 53,000 clothing workers in South Africa at the moment, and 94% broadly defined black, and more than 80% female. Each worker supports about 5 dependents. And so when you have job losses in the clothing sector, you have a disproportionate impact upon female-headed households, etc., etc.
They are judged on something that you can't explain, whatever the judges see in them.
Something else.
It's not the most beautiful person. It's not the most ravishing. It's the one who portrays the best aspirations of clothing workers.
Your pretty smile. Your beautiful smile. That's your turn, Anna. Golden smile. Okay, here we go.
Must have that inner beauty, and that shows everything.
Pre-1994, because it was protected, there wasn't that much pressure to be competitive. In 1994, the outgoing apartheid government projected a status at the WTO of being a developed country, which resulted then in the decimation of many companies across the sector, about 100,000 clothing jobs lost. And obviously it results in 500,000 dependents losing their ability to feed themselves, be schooled, etc. The clothing sector is in a seriously dire situation.
But the big question is, who will be the queen tonight? Who will be your queen tonight? Give me a number. Your queen is number 8. Your queen is number 8. Your queen is number 8. Mami, easy doctor, mami. Number 8. In my house.
In our factory as Scar's Clothing, you must actually work yourself up. It's not you are queen, they give you a position. No, don't work like that. You must show what you can do in the factory.
Son of your mentor, clear away.
There's nothing changes. You just stay as a machinist or a cleaner or whatsoever.
I'm proud of my mother.
I worked in a clothing factory as well, with my mother and my sisters. Pageants are always about the fairy tales. There are fairy tales because they don't exist, and there's nothing more so than the Spring Queen. There's a vast difference between the adulation that's so separated from the life of the women who work in the clothing and textile sector.
So 2003 onwards, the South African currency got stronger, and then there was just a surge of imports from China. 60% of goods that come in from China come in illegally. Almost 6 billion rands worth of clothing value that can't be accounted for. And that was really just the utter decimation of the industry.
I think the manufacturing side, if you look over the years, how many factories have closed down, it's sad. There's a lot of people without work. Calypso is a distribution company. We supply the chain stores. We've never manufactured. We only buy. 70% of the goods is locally bought in South Africa, and the other 30% is bought from China, Bangladesh, and all the foreign places. So I think at first Rene didn't want to enter. And then I think one of the ladies persuaded her, no, we're coming for the fun of it. And that's where she is now. And she wasn't a very outspoken person. She's a very shy type of girl. And I think she's gained a lot of confidence since then. And yeah, as you can see, she's bubbly, she's radiant, she's full of life. And that's what the Spring Queen did to her.
Het baie gechange. Van because toe wat ek inkom die maana, toe sê hulle vir my geluk, hulle het my gedruk, hulle het my gesoen, hulle het aangegaan met my. Toe sê hulle vir my mood change. Sometimes I feel like so mal. I sê hulle my so wel queen.
I think the workers love to see management get involved with what they are busy with.
I'm a union member and as daar 'n probleem is, dan word dit gesolf. Het was 'n goeie gevoel gewees vir my om mense 'n bietjie op te lig, op te kikker.
We've never had any problems with the union. We've always seen it as a positive building relations for the workers as well as for the company. I think we've become friends with him.
I don't want the Spring Queen to become the moment where we realize the job that we do. We're so desensitized by the fact that people lose their job that we don't realize what it means to ordinary workers. For us, it's just another job loss. For them, it's their livelihood.
'Cause you're a superstar. You got the face of David Lincoln. You're a superstar.
The semi-finals usually takes place in September or October. It gives the finalists about 2 months or 6 weeks to practice and rehearse for the finals. So they go through a whole rehearsal process, a transformation.
2, you slide.
Okay, guys, no, these people already, they're doing it. Don't learn it incorrectly because you're going to keep on doing it incorrectly, right? There is no dropping here. It's just there. You're just lifting your leg. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I am choreographing the dance. The dance is about 3.5 minutes. Lifting your leg.
Probably have about 450 factories in the Western Cape. Of that, about 100 factories compete on a factory level. Of that, between 50 and 60 finalists are selected.
Into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Right, do it.
Yeah, 7, 8.
Yeah, yes. It's easy, but to see how they're going to do it, you heard the Shaka Zulu.
So I was very excited. I was laughing the whole time because the girls didn't get their steps right.
In die eerste plek, wat ek gedoen het hier is 'n bietjie baie werk. 2 kinders, huis, werk, alles. En toe stem ek maar aan om dit te doen, want ek was 5 jaar gelede ook daar gewees. En toe doen ek het maar nou weer vir my werk, vir Seagal. Represent them. Jy leer ken baie mense. I made friends with 52 people. Ek dink ons is 'n baie lekker groepie. Ons verstaan mekaar baie lekker. Die jongs van binne, hulle wil nie deelneem. Ek het baie van hulle gepraat om deel te neem. Want dit is lekker fun.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's crazy. People love it. They love the Spring Queen. It gets people together and they have fun and they just go, like we say, they just go post.
Something to be proud of if you win it. It's a sort of provides a status for the company and the people in the company if they do manage to pull it off, and we have pulled it off before. So going forward, it is something that does pull people together and creates an excitement and a morale boost for people.
My ma was ook 'n machinist. Ek is nou 2,5 jaar hier. En voor dat het ek gewerk by Novel Garments en obviously het hulle mos toegemaak. Hulle was maar net ek ook geweest en toe dit ook toegemaak. Toe was ek retrench by hulle ook. 2 keer geretrench geweest. Maar toe kry ek vir Seagal.
We started off manufacturing and have developed into imports to compensate for manufacturing, which has become more difficult over time. Most of us have been outpriced, especially on lower end goods. And really, competing with China is just not possible at this stage. We are a very labor-intensive company, which requires a lot of labor to produce what you do. You're taking 20 hands to touch that product before it's completed, which is absolutely ideal for what we're trying to achieve in this country, which is try and get people into factories, get them off the streets, get them employed. But the actual profitability of that work is now so low that really it's just a contribution. Right now, without importing, this company would not survive. A lot of the labourers overseas are working 7 days a week with no overtime.
Spring Queen has its own historical energy behind it that drives it. But for SACTWU, the most important thing is the link that we can make in the public eye about local clothing workers and their jobs.
So take a factory that can probably hold about 500 people. Right now you're sitting in a factory that's only got 200. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on around us. Atlantis is pretty much a ghost town as far as clothing goes, and there used to be quite a big clothing contingent in this area. A lot of desperate people out there, a lot of people looking for work. And of course with that comes a problem of alcoholism, drugs, etc., which is rife in Atlantis.
I have 2 children. The older one is a boy. He's 12 years old. Toe hy kry toe gaan, toe kry sy maar werk by Novo. Ek sou graag my seentjie laat verder studeer en ook vir haar ook as die geld is baie groot probleme. So ons moet maar hard werk en kyk as hulle die free opportunities gee vir die kinders om weg te stuur, sal ek hulle wegstuur om verder aan nie 'n fabriek werk en te sê.
Unless something is done now, we're going to be in a situation where I think majority of goods are going to be imported, which I think we already are there.
Our company closed down the 16th of October. There's been a good, strong company for over 40 years. And then someone came and bought the company over, and then 3 years down the line, we closed down. 420 workers, all retrenched.
Ellen Arthur was our second home. I was working 8 years there, 15 years.
I was there about 17 years. Just closed down. What's going on? That's all we know.
We didn't expect that to happen with us. Most of us were single parents who worked at Ellen Arthur. And to lose your job in that way, I mean, if you work for 27 years, same company, it's hard.
No, retrenchment money to pay us out. Nothing. Nothing. Nothing.
You know, we had this hope that we would still work here at this place for a very, very long time.
It's sad that we see that factories is closing like that. It's very sad because there's mouth to be fed. We have to do something about it. As SACTWU, as a strong union, we have to fight against it. We try to recruit. We know it's difficult, but we need all those on board.
On the ground floor, there's actually a lot of racism between people. It's a terrible story of people who compete for scarce resources.
I think in the last 10 years, there's been more Xhosa-speaking people employed in the factories.
Here in Khayelitsha, not all of people here are using factory staff and industry. A lot of people here are domestic workers, so they don't have idea what is a Spring Queen is and stuff. My shop steward, Washila, she came to me and said, are you interested in entering this Spring Queen? So I was like, no man, I'm not really interested because most of them are coloreds. Maybe I'm not going to get full support or something. But she was like, no, enter, we're going to support you. Then I became a factory Spring Queen.
Sit down, my first line. Anybody missing in this line?
We did go to semi-finals, but the factory was already closed down.
Are there 2 girls missing?
So I was waiting for the feedback. Can Lunga enter while the factory was closed down? So Ashila called me and said, we sorted everything out. I did go to the rehearsals. Bonnie introduced me. She said, this is Lumka, and she's one of us now. But I was 2 weeks late.
We're going to finish it? Yeah, from there. Righto. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
They had some moves they're making, and I didn't know nothing about them, but I tried.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. Oh, Lunka, please, you can't do that. You look crippled. Lunka's like...
I was struggling with the moves. I was really struggling. That was so difficult for me.
Next week is the show. And you do know we're running modeling, we're running dancing. There's no time for polishing the dance. Can you get it tonight, like in 10 minutes? 1, 2, 3, 4, better.
Other girls were like so nice to me. It was fun.
First, the graphic artist did roses digitally. Fabric with high resolution spider webs, all burned out with laser. Yeah, it was quite a process.
When a queen goes through to the finals, they have this evening gown of her choice.
Beautiful.
We would then assist in making a dress or whatever she wants.
We don't make dresses here, so it's a bit special to us because we make jackets and trousers. If she's going to win anything, she's certainly going to win the best dressed.
We spend that kind of money because every factory wants to win the Spring Queen.
Everybody supports you and they ask you a lot of questions. How far is your dress? Do you have shoes? Do you need help with this and that? It's fun.
My rok is lime green, gold, with tight lace, with long piece, very stunning.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's orange.
If my factory was open, they would have made it. But now closed. I hide it.
1, 2, step 3,
4, 5, 6, 7, step out. Okay, can we see that part quickly?
Very excited. I can't wait.
Baie nervous.
Okay, be honest. No? And the show is next week. Do you think they will hear it?
As dit moet wees dat ek moet wen, ek weet ek weet rede van, maar ek dink dit sal 'n groot verskil maak met myself hier in die fabriek buitekant.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just go. Pa.
Ek sal baie bly wees. Ek weet nie hoe sal ek voel soos in wat sal ek maak nie, maar ek gaan ook nie dink dat ja, maar ek gaan nou wen nie. Nou wen ek, dan gaan ek baie hartseer wees gaan daai.
Mens moet nie gaan meneer verstaan om te sê, ek gaan wen, ek gaan die wees, ek gaan die wees. Nee, mens doen het vir die fun. You go with the flow.
Go practice. Tomorrow we finish. Oh, it's hectic. But I am confident that they will get it together.
May the best one win.
When it reaches that final in the Good Hope Center, this is massive. Since we began with the Spring Queen, that's one thing that has never changed. It's one of the marvelous things that happens in Cape Town each year. It's exciting because when they see their girl, they go all out and they support.
If you come to any Spring Queen event, you'll see employers who sit in huge offices during the week are sitting in the bleachers with their workers with a T-shirt on, bearing the name of their factory. They're on equal footing.
Brings back memories, eh? I told my daughter I'm going to enter this year again for the Spring Queen.
Over 40 and still winning. Shows you that age is just a number.
And I've got the Queen of 88 with me here.
Dit was 'n plesier geweest om 'n queen te wees daai jare.
I started in 1977.
She brought in the union and she started all the Spring Queens. It's the time of the year that we will see workers will unite, even though they've got personal or working differences. By the time of the Spring Queen, there's no differences. We are all workers and we are all aiming for our queen to be the best in Cape Town.
door, she's standing there. Huh?
I'm fine. A little bit nervous.
They asked me to enter the local spring queen at work. I went through to the finals. I didn't expect to win. And when they called my name out, I don't know, I had mixed emotions. I didn't know how to feel. It meant a lot to me because it's the first time my company won the big competition. But now it's normal, back to normal, like it used to be.
Very nervous. There's butterflies in my stomach.
Favorite your comics?
I did have one.
Dan moet je mij nog in het doen. Ja, moet je maar bieden.
Oh.
Children's author. Lumka.
Where's Lumka?
Lumka.
My grandma didn't like the part of I'm going away a swimwear. She didn't want it at all. Because she was like saying, no, you can't go naked. You're a church member. I said, no, I'm going to wear like casual clothes.
Thank you, just leave and get dressed. What? Als we in mijn kamer doen vallen, dan trekken we je gezicht af.
When they're training, that's your goal. But when it reaches that final, you don't know it.
We got it, girls. We got it. We got it. We got it.
It's amazing, the changeover. Because they're fantastic, they're beautiful. And she has to take that rank and smiles all the way. Because every factory wants to win the spring queen.
Come to any spring queen event, it is that moment, that 10 seconds when their representative comes onto the factory that they can scream and shout because they're proud of the place where they work at. They can say, this is our factory, this is our product, this is what we do, that's our goal.
It's not a beauty pageant, it's a showcase. It's proudly South African.
All the fashion you see on stage tonight, 100% South African designed and produced.
The kind of brief that we provide to the judges, as we say to them, doesn't have to be the most beautiful girl. Doesn't have to be the girl with the best dress on. It's someone that represents the aspirations that every young girl has, every clothing worker who wishes they can be on the red carpet, who wishes they can wear the best dress, who wish they can transform into what they look every day, and on a weekend this is what they transform into. Someone that can represent that, someone who carries that kind of pride in them that says, I can transform, but I'm a clothing worker.
What makes the best queen is not the dress per se. Our thinking is always, you will remain a worker when you come back from the event. So don't become big-headed because why you were the queen Saturday night. Monday, we're all back into our overalls and pushing for production.
People don't know that just being a contestant, not even winning the spring queen, just to feel like you're a part of something. It changes you, and to win, it changes you totally.
So far, so very good, very good. Nervous is gone, no more butterflies in my stomach.
It's a lot of fun. I enjoy myself.
This is the last event. I'm going to make my move and see who comes on top.
You got the style. I'd like to be you for a while. You cause a scene wherever you go.
telling everybody, 'cause you're a superstar. You got the face that they've been looking for. You're a superstar. You got the face that they've been looking for. You're a superstar. You got the face that they've been dreaming of. You're a superstar. You got the face that they've been looking for.
As het moet wees dat ik moet wen, zal ik trots is op mezelf. Mensen zullen opkijken naar mij. Ik heb bij hard gewerkt daarvoor.
I will be excited, happy. Yeah, really. I want to inspire people. I didn't know what to expect because I was through a rough patch. So when they announced my name as a top 20, I was like, oh, okay. I have that hope I'm going to be first or second or queen.
On stage, please, the destined number 48. She's the queen of time. Ladies and gentlemen, the excitement is palpable. You are going to be very happy if you come in tonight to support the Queen. Of Ellen Arthur.
I smiled and I cried because I couldn't believe it.
She won. We were extremely proud. The girls was like crying. They were so happy. It was very exciting for us. It's the first time that Ellen Arthur was crowned SACTWU Spring Queen.
Everyone was shouting. The Ellen Arthur people was like going on and on and on. And I was like, oh my word, this is really happening. And I'm the queen now. So. Unexpected, yeah.
Told you, man.
So you haven't got a job to go to on Monday?
No. I was like, I felt like crying. I couldn't even hear they saying Ellen Arthur. I was like, oh my word.
It's one of the best portrayals of a modern-day Cinderella. The transformation from someone sitting behind a machine to this beautiful person every young girl dreams of. And the strange thing about it is the next Monday they're back at the factory floor behind the machines, making clothes.
It was kind of like heartbreaking.
Because I have no factory. I was kind of like worried, who am I going to parade for? Where and how?
I wanted my workers to see me. No, this is our queen.
But I have no factory.
mentality behind it is we all are workers. There's no one better than the other one in the factory.
I had no one to shout for me, and they were shouting like the two girls. But I was like, no, I'm proud of them. Because there was no one for me there. Queen of Queens on my word. We were 53 in. For me, becoming number one, that was like, oh my word, shocking.
My phone has been ringing since 6 o'clock yesterday morning. The moment when they announced the Alan Arthur name, I almost fainted.
And your age, Lumka?
Yes.
Married, Lumka?
No.
Single?
No.
You're not single
No.
either?
I'm not married, but I'm not single.
Okay. No kids?
One.
Hey?
One.
One boy?
Yes.
Because you're representing clothing workers in general, just be absolutely sure that you behave in a way that is responsible for a young woman. It's about making sure that you don't engage in practices which is frowned upon in general by society.
If you find yourself pregnant, let us know first. Don't let us find that in the paper that look, the Queen is now pregnant and then they blow it all out of proportion.
You behave responsibly. We cannot say that people must practice safe sex if our people who represent workers doesn't do that. First port of call, if we're not available, call your shop steward. They will know exactly how to deal with the situation. It will come out. You work in a factory. It will come out.
This year, what you will do is you bring back the focus to where it's supposed to be. You'll bring it back to the industry and the difficulties that we are faced with.
Yeah. Thank you.
Our first campaign is now to get your factory reopened so that by the time you hand over your crown next year, you're back in the factory.
Very nice to see you all here. Welcome everybody. Very special and joyous occasion for us. 2012 SACTWU Spring Queen, our Queen of Alan Arthur, Luca.
Oh, she's lovely. She don't work long there by us, but at least in the situation where we are, she put us high.
Especially the criticism, people asking, why did your girl did one and that, but despite of that, the name was for a long time there before the factory closed.
It was really awesome. I never had a voice this week. It's only starting to come back and coming right now.
And seeing that our queen got crowned was actually big, and it was actually upsetting also.
I put my whole life out there. And it's so sad for me. I got nothing.
There's a lot of people looking for work. Companies are battling. The Rexes of this world have gone. The Rex True Forms of this world, the Bonwits of this world have gone. You just mention the names. This is all employment that people need and desperately need.
That's all those places that we work for. Hoovers and Edgars or whatever. We work for them, but they eat by Chinese, which is it's unfair.
I believe labour needs to be freed up. Business needs to be easier to do.
I'm going to be 54 next month, so I don't know whether I'll still be able to go into a factory. I don't know.
And we were like a very nice, big, good family together. And they are just relying on the fact that maybe the place can reopen in the new year.
I think the main challenge is to try and get the retailers to come home and get the local manufacturers to produce garments, because we have got the skills Our price is possibly a bit more than it is in China, but we can deliver quickly, we can deliver on time, and I think our quality is certainly as good as the Chinese.
People don't change because they're nice. Governments change the policy because they're forced to change. When we compete on low-value goods, we're competing with every human rights and labor abuser in the world. And the question is, do we want to be like Bangladesh or like Lesotho or Myanmar, where, you know, there have been instances of slave labor, forced labor. So it's okay for states to step in and guide and help design and subsidize to create a base.
If owners take the time to understand that they can't manufacture everything, but there are niches available both in the domestic and export market, we will retain many more jobs. But if it's all just abandoned because China's too big, then I think we face a profound tragedy in the sector.
So basically, I'm here tonight supporting Lumka. It's going to be very sad for us because she's giving over the crown. And for us, it was a very sad story throughout the whole year that our company has been closed. We have that bond together where we come together and we just socialize and we talk about our experience at Allen Arthur. But basically, for Allen Arthur as a company, I think it's dead. It's dead.
As a Spring Queen, nothing much I did. Switching one of the lights in Cape Town, Durban on a trip. That's what I enjoyed. Now the crown is off me. It's actually a relief because they were like phoning me each and every time. Come to union for this, come to union for that. I don't see myself working in a factory again. I'm starting now, so I have to chase my dreams.